delivering an outstanding message last week. It's always good when Reverend Tony steps in, along with the other guest speakers that we have. But Tony brings a different lightness to our celebration. And in case you missed his talk, or you want to watch it again, you can catch it on our Facebook page or on our YouTube channel. And also a shout out to Denise Kaku for supporting us as our service leader last week. And I also understand that there is some wonderful Halloween treats that were here. But I have to tell you, I'm a little disappointed. There wasn't a bag in the refrigerator for me with my name on it. But thank you for monitoring my sweet intake. I really appreciate that. And so my references for our November series will include the teachings and the writings of Ernest Holmes, articles or snippets from the Science of Mind magazine, and other New Thought resources. And I want to put a plug in for the Science of Mind magazine. We have terminated our subscription to the center. However, as you know, when you sign up for something, it takes a while for it to go through the system before you start receiving it. The same with discontinuing it. So it's taking a moment for the notice to go through the system at Science of Mind headquarters. So we have the November-December issue of the magazine here available at the center, and the donation is $10, and these are available on the hospitality table. And for those who are viewing online, we encourage you to subscribe to the Science of Mind magazine and to follow along with the daily guides as well as the other exciting and outstanding articles that are in there. And as I said, our theme for the month of November is loving the unlikable. And so our topic today is decoding unlikability. You know, it's interesting, as I'm going through and putting this together, spell check on my computer wants to change unlikable to unlovable. And I have to keep telling it, no, this is the word that I'm choosing to use. And sometimes there's an option for me to add a word to the dictionary if it doesn't recognize it. Well, it's not allowing me to add unlikable. So here we go. Anyway, decoding unlikability is a prompt that invites us to explore this idea of unlikability and distinguish between our personal preferences and inherent value. And by choosing to love rather than to judge, we learn to live in harmony with our values of oneness and unconditional love. In our Science of Mind textbook, Ernest Holmes wrote this on page 162. The illusion is the way we look at things. We have looked at some things and they have looked evil to us. We must look at them again until they look good. And so what Ernest Holmes is offering to us is that our perception shapes our reality. And I think we're all familiar with this concept. Our perception shapes our reality. Illusion doesn't mean that the world is fake. It means our interpretations of it is often distorted by fear, judgment, or limited understanding. These three things tend to get in our way: fear, judgment, and limited understanding. Illusion is our mental coloring or our habit of labeling experiences, people, or qualities as bad before seeing their deeper purpose of goodness. And this is what we will look at today. So decoding unlikability invites us to acknowledge that what we dislike often reflects our resistance or fear, creating discomfort. It's something that pulls us out of our comfort zone. By remaining present with the discomfort, looking until it looks good, we frequently discover understanding, compassion, or meaning that was previously hidden. So as we sit in the discomfort, we can find the meaning in that may move us to a place of feeling more comfortable with whatever was previously hidden, because now we have understanding. Now, I'm not suggesting that you sit in a potentially dangerous situation. You know, it's like the 23rd Psalm that says, I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. I don't stop to identify a residential area or shopping area or business area that might support my needs. I move through that experience. So we don't stay in a negative or harmful experience while we're doing a spiritual assessment. We move away from, we move through the experience to where we feel safe and we feel protected. And then we do our spiritual assessment that may support us in making a different choice, choosing a different way of showing up. Science of Mind invites us to recognize the perception of good, the recognition of a deeper harmony, which is always possible when we see with spiritual clarity rather than reactive judgment. And so we're looking now through the eye of spiritual clarity rather than reactive judgment. One of our Science of Mind core concepts, and this comes from the statement of belief, we believe in the unity of all life, and that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. We believe that God is personal to all who feel this indwelling presence. Embracing this concept allows us to recognize that there is no such thing as an unlikable person. Take a breath on that one. There's no such thing as an unlikable person. I think Dr. Holmes and I may have a slightly difference of opinion on this. However, bringing it back into the spiritual, our personal dislikes versus inherent unlikability creates this illusion, allowing us to assume that if we dislike something, it must be inherently unlikable. This is not true. Everyone has personal preferences that shape their likes and dislikes. As the proverb says, one person's trash is another's treasure. And this reminded me of in my neighborhood, and I understand this takes place in other neighborhoods, if there's something that we want to discard that may still have some value, it's not trash or recycle worthy in our opinion. So we put it out on the sidewalk, and someone will come along and take it, gather it up, and repurpose it for use in their own lives. And so we may not agree or even dislike the actions of a person that are not in alignment with spiritual or our personal values. However, nothing in God could possibly be unlikable. This is bringing us back to principle. This is bringing us back to our core concept that we believe in the unity of all life and that God is present to all who feel this indwelling presence. We can live and act from a place of unconditional love for all, thereby creating a world that works for all. The challenge arises when we use our personal dislikes to justify hurting or eliminating or eradicating others. The key is to understand that many people like or even love things that we don't. Practicing a shift in perception often turns dislike into acceptance and sometimes even genuine appreciation. And I just invite you to reflect for a moment on a situation or experience where you may have initially disliked it or maybe was discomfortable being with it. And yet, you decided that I'm going to sit here and I'm going to wait until my change comes, as the expression goes. And I'm going to look beyond this experience, and I'm going to see the good that is revealing itself to me. This is what we mean by practicing a shift of perception. Decoding unlikability helps us to realize that there is nothing wrong with having preferences or disliking certain things. And I thought of an example where there's a spread, a layout of food, perhaps it's even a potluck, but mostly a layout where certain dishes have been prepared. And so the omnivores, when you're selecting the menu, the omnivores are turning their nose up at anything vegetarian. And yet, when you go through the line, you get to the vegetarian section, especially if you're at the end of the line and a vegetarian, everything has been picked over. And there are not that many vegetarians in front of you. You look at the plate of the omnivores and it's got all of the vegetarian food on there, and they say, well, it looked really good, so I'm going to try it out. So this is how we move through these things where we may dislike something because we don't have an understanding or we don't have an experience of what that may look like. And I'm just offering that as an example. And I remember on a retreat that I was on, the facilitator found someone who prepared plant-based dishes, and the omnivores had a heart attack. But as soon as the food came out, there was this shift, and they said, oh, if I had someone to prepare this for me every day, I could easily adjust to this. And so the challenge is to respect and honor what we dislike by shifting to love, thereby enhancing our awareness, our understanding, and our knowledge of it. This helps us to co-create a more inclusive and accepting world, strengthening our relationships with others, and recognizing that personal likes or dislikes contribute to the diversity and the richness of our planet. And as I look around here in our center, I'm just seeing the diversity and the richness of everyone that is represented in here. And as we look about our Zoom participants and those who are viewing on Facebook or those who will be joining us on our YouTube channel, the diversity of each and every individual brings a unique gift to the table. And so we have a large enough table to accept all of these gifts. And we prepare a seat at the table for everyone that brings their gift. And we also prepare the serving utensils for them to engage in what is available at the table. This is what diversity, this is what unity looks like. This is what the highest and the innermost God looks like. Newsflash, there is no hierarchy of life. Humanity is simply another form of spirit. There is no hierarchy of life. And I'm thinking of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where we begin at a base of our survival, and then we move to the top of that pyramid with actualization. And sometimes humanity is represented as being at the top of the food chain, and everything else is subservient to us. In the spiritual realm, there is no hierarchy of life. We're all an expression of spirit. And so by shifting from viewing the world through our personal lens, we recognize that life makes a positive contribution. All of life makes a positive to our planet and to the wholeness of spirit. For example, if you fear bees and usually try to remove them from your yard space each summer, take some time to learn about bees. Understand their different types, how they help the planet, why they are essential, and how to live peacefully with them. Identify and understand the various species of bees and the roles that they play in our ecosystem. And that is just one example. Other things that you may dislike or feel comfortable with, take the time to study and to investigate. Do your own research. Develop your own facts. Our actions and our intentions foster unconditional love for all of life. The principle of oneness, all beings are inherently worthy of the life they are living, affirms that our personal dislikes do not diminish their right to exist. What we dislike, whatever it is, does not diminish the right of another to like and to love whatever that is. We all are here to coexist in love with each other. Recognizing our interconnectedness encourages us to show unconditional love to those who we may find difficult or irritating. For example, if we encounter someone who is demonstrating the appearance of being arrogant, we might look again until we see possibly an insecurity or a need for recognition and acceptance. We recognize their God essence and love them without judgment. If we dislike a situation or an experience, we may look again until we find what it is teaching us. It's like receiving a medical diagnosis and asking, what did this come to teach me? And then deciding to accept it or mark it as return to sender, recipient no longer at this location. We have the choice. We have the choice. All we have to do is ask our divine inner guidance to direct us and to show us the way. Decoding unlikability helps us to build empathy, compassion, and respect, promoting harmony and inclusiveness in our interconnectedness and in our actions and in our communities. The book that we're using this month for our reference is Detaching from Likes and Dislikes for Your Spiritual Growth by Manisha Belwani. And I am paraphrasing part of, and I don't have the reference point here, but Manisha writes, attachments comes in pairs of opposites, likes and dislikes. A liking for something usually comes along with a dislike for the opposite of what you like. And this is the key. Dependency is the problem. Dashing towards what we like and recoiling from what we dislike is how we find happiness from the world. It is our all-consuming preoccupation. So, if we have likes and dislikes, if they make us happy, what's wrong with having them? The challenge is not simply the likes and dislikes. It is the dependency that comes along with it. Our happiness depends on having things a certain way. We get into a routine, and if that routine is interrupted in any way, it throws us off balance. This dependency creates desires, cravings, and agitations in the mind that take away from our peace. We can't stay until we move away from what we don't want to get what we do want. The greater the intensity of the like or dislike, the greater will be our disappointment and sorrow in the absence of the things we like, or anger and agitation in the presence of something that we dislike. And so as we wrap this up this morning, I offer this call to action if you choose to accept it. When encountering someone you dislike, or something that you dislike, rather than instinctively trying to eliminate or avoid it, seek to understand and respect it. Ask if my actions align with the principles and practices, the teachings and the values of science of mind, or spiritual truths, however they are known. Oneness, the inherent worthiness of life, wholeness, an individualized expression of spirit manifesting through each being. This is what we are to identify and to look for. Oneness, the inherent worthiness of all life, wholeness, and seeing each individualized expression of spirit as manifesting through each and every individual that we encounter. If this is not happening, if this is not present in our lives, then we pause and reflect on what changes we can make in our personal life to move closer to an alignment with our science of mind values, beliefs, and understanding of God as spirit, as source, as this infinite intelligence that is moving through us. This is how we begin to decode unlikability and move into that place of grace and compassion and unconditional love, knowing that everything, absolutely everything, is working as it should be right here and right now. I invite us now to say together our affirmation for the week, and we will say this twice. I choose love even when I encounter something I don't like. I choose love even when I encounter something I don't like. And let us just be with this affirmation for a moment as we turn our attention inward. And as we move into our time of communal prayer together, knowing that there is only one life, one intelligence, one power for good. And this power, this intelligence, God, Spirit, however it is, whatever name it is that resonates with you, know that it is working on behalf of each and every one. For each one is an individualized expression of Spirit, this creative source. We live, move, and have our experience as the life of God right here, right now, each and every moment. And so I celebrate this morning the recognition of what it is that I like and what it is that I don't like. And I celebrate this without judgment. And where it is that I feel a real intense like or dislike, I put it under a spiritual microscope. And I say, where is the value? Where's the truth in this experience? Where can I just put a little bit more love on it? Where can I feel a little bit more comfortable in moving into this unknown, moving from this place of fear or doubt, embracing what is calling me and inviting me to move out of my comfort zone? And as I embrace this truth for myself, I embrace it for all people in all places and everywhere, knowing that we live as the life and as the grace of God. I speak my word this morning for those who are experiencing changes and challenges in life, for the loved ones that have crossed over into this next chapter of this book called Eternal Life. We mourn and we grieve the physical presence, the loss, the absence of the physical presence. And yet we know that as they have moved from the visible into the invisible, from the local into the non-local, that their energy, their love, their guidance, their presence is always with us. And each time we recall a memory of our interaction and our interconnectedness, they live on in our hearts and in our lives. And so I bless those families who are experiencing this movement in their lives this morning. I speak a word of blessing for members of our community, of our beloved community, and for people in our individual families who may be experiencing a health challenge or a health opportunity or a diagnosis that has shaken their foundation, knowing that as I trust in the intelligence of Spirit to move through the body temple, healing every cell, circulating the good that there is in life, that I move through this experience with ease and grace. And I pause and I ask, what have you come to teach me? How am I to learn from this experience? How am I to grow from this experience? How am I to find love in this experience? Love for myself, love for others around me. And as we continue to experience those transitions in our lives, transitions into right livelihood, right housing, right alignment, right friendships, right connections, whatever it is that we are seeking, I know that if we seek in faith and if we ask in faith believing, it is done. Because the language of spirit is monosyllabic. It is yes and amen to the desires of our heart that are in alignment with the principle of doing good and creating no harm. I bless communities where individuals are gathering in the name and nature of love, knowing that there is one life. That life is God's life, and that life is everywhere present. And so for this and so much more, I am truly grateful. I'm grateful for the word that I have spoken because I know it has set a new cause in motion, and I see and I feel and I experience a demonstration right here and right now in my own life. And if any of what I have said resonates with you in any way, let us affirm it together by saying, and so it is, and so it is. And as we just remain in this attitude of prayer and gratitude for a moment, I invite us to take advantage of our prayer chest, our prayer box that is here in the center, to write out those prayer requests that you are holding in your heart, if you feel comfortable doing so. And know that those prayer requests are held in confidence by the ministers and the practitioners here at the center. We're here to embrace you through the challenges and through the joys. We love to have it when an individual comes to us to celebrate a joy, knowing that everything is unfolding for our highest and best. And now this is our opportunity to share our abundance in the form of our offering. We have an abundance affirmation. I invite us to say that together. I recognize the presence of God within as the source of my supply, of my abundance. Out of my abundance consciousness flows everything I could desire in life. With gratitude and thanksgiving, I now participate in the flow of uninterrupted abundance. This prosperous experience is evidence of my abundance consciousness. And so on our screen, for those of you who are here in the center and those who are viewing, are ways to donate. And we appreciate and acknowledge the gifts that are donated to us on a regular basis. And as the offering basket passes by, I invite you to just bless it with a smile, knowing that whatever is placed in there is returned and multiplied, pressed down and running over, and it comes back to us in marvelous and magnificent ways. And to our viewing community, we invite you to join us next week, which is November the 9th, as we continue our November series, Loving the Unlikable. And our topic is breathlessness, where the unseen areas of life nourish and sustain our world. And so we say thank you, God bless you, we love you, and we appreciate you.